Tommy Boyds now. 0171 412 1152.
So Anne's gone to the gym, but you've still got another hour of LBC breakfast, but it's your hour. It's completely your hour. The phone lines are open, 0171 412 1152. I'll remind you the number in just a second. There's a lot of people who've got the number written down by their phones, and that's great, that's nice. But there will be times you haven't. Say you're somebody who hasn't. Okay, there will be times when you'll feel like climbing on board, and then you'll miss your moment because you'll be waiting for the bloke to say the phone number. So next time I say it, try and remember it. That's difficult. Nah, write it down. I'll say it again in just a second. And then what we do between now and 10 o'clock is talk about... there's various things that come up during the morning. Not a lot happens overnight these days, but quite a few things are timed to happen in the morning. That's for news purposes, but that's entirely valid. So there's always something new to think about and talk about. The number's 0171. Here we go. That bit's easy. 412 1152, which obviously is a wavelength, so that bit's easy. This morning, despite the fact that the world is as vibrant and tremulous as it always is, we found ourselves, Anne, myself, our news editor Ian Abrahams, and a succession of callers really betraying how little we know about what causes nosebleeds. There was an Arsenal footballer who took an almighty whack in the nose from a player's knee who was travelling at speed. He fell over and he took the player's knee, and you know how dangerous knees and elbows are, smack in the nose, and it broke it, and there was blood everywhere. And we ended up talking about nosebleeds and what causes them. And there's this wives' tale, and I said it to Anne's face, so I can say it behind her back. There's this wives' tale that nosebleeds usually happen. The majority of nosebleeds happen because people pick their nose, and I think first of all, I'm sure it's not true. Secondly, even if it were true, it's a truth that you would handle carefully, because you don't want a youngster to hear that and then be confused and then start taking the mickey out of somebody at school who suffered a nosebleed by putting the rumour around that they were a nose picker, because that's very ignominious. Very ignominious. And yet it's something that probably everybody does. So it's a shame, that, isn't it? That there are normal pieces of human behaviour which everybody does that we're made to feel ashamed of. As if there aren't enough problems. But anyway, 0171 412 1152. And we've also been talking about space and gravity. And I can't for the life of me remember how the conversation... Oh, I remember gravity, yes. It came about due to the discussion about it being a possibility that dinosaurs died out because gravity changed and the bigger animals couldn't sustain themselves any longer. And that conversation came about because Anne revealed that she woke up at 2 o'clock this morning, couldn't go back to sleep, so she watched a Star Trek, which was all about a woman who came from a planet where there was a different level of gravity, and so when she was on Earth, she was effectively disabled. But we were discussing the way in which, first of all, gravity is an unknown force. Nobody knows how it works. And secondly, the fact that gravity may be increasing on Earth at the moment due to the fact that planet Earth collects 50,000 tons of space dust. I'm not talking about bits of Apollo that's fallen back to Earth. I'm talking about space dust every year. And the bigger something's mass, the more gravity it exerts. 0171 412 1152. We'll go to the phones in just a second, but let me bring in old Braveheart on this one, who's been... helping run the sort of technical and backroom side of the show this morning. Hutai and Och the new man, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Jolly good. Jolly good. Are you bothered about the fact that your nation is inaugurating its parliament today, or like most Scots, I suspect, do you not give a hoot?
Well, I think we've got a kind of hard run on it, because what one of the criticisms that you made is that we've voted in a watered-down system of what we've already got. Yeah. But it's baby steps in the right direction. Mm. And so I wouldn't say I'm not a Londoner yet. But
no, you're not. Do you want to learn to speak London, mate?
No,
because it's estuary we talk now.
Estuary?
See? Yeah, like what Jamie Shea, the bloke. It's very endearing that to see a good old Peckham boy up there, speaking to the world about what NATO's up to. Because Jamie Shea, he's Peckham.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, can you spot a difference between different London accents? Dan, you've been down there a while, Jock?
I've been down here since September and been on the phone since September, so I'm starting to get
spot the different...
Yeah. I mean, it's good that he's up at the top, but I mean, look at most companies. Look at the top man, you'll find a Scot.
I'm not getting into an anti-Scott argument with you. 2 is shooting fish in a barrel.
No.
0171 412 1152 as another producer comes in and... what is that dumb question? Just asking a man who's driving a live radio programme and a man who's producing a live radio programme if they're busy. Senior producer. 0171 412 1152. Go, let's have a cup of coffee and join in. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is LBC. We'll get the news from Douglas Cameron, then to the phones.
Call Tommy Boyd now. 0171 412 1152.
They're working very hard in what we call the gallery, where the show is produced and people press all the buttons and everything. Are you there, Braveheart?
Yes.
I was wondering, have you seen, because somebody just said something to me as I was running back in the corridor. Have you seen any wasps lately this year?
Wasp. Not yet.
Who's that? Who said wasp?
Me.
Oh, no, it was Blodwyn, the comedian, the Welsh comedian.
I thought it was Craig Ferguson, who used to do Bing Hitler. He used to do wasps.
Wasp, whatever.
The skinheads of the insect world.
Yeah. But I'm still not comfortable about killing them because they go crunch. And that's the truth. And I wanted to say that because I think if you can get in touch with your own truth, then you're a better person for it.
But you know when you kill a wasp and they give off a scent which goes out for miles and attracts other wasps?
Is that true?
Pheromone. This is true. Pheromone.
Is that true?
This is true. Ants. No, it's wasps.
And when you do squash a wasp, because you do from time to time, and you don't like to do it because it ruins the newspaper, for one thing. Is that blood? Is that stuff blood?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't know. And what good are wasps? Can you think of any? I can tell you 3 useless animals. Wasps, they do nothing. Tapeworms, they do nothing. And zebras.
Shrimps.
Well, they feed whales.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because a lot, you know what plankton is?
No.
Very small shrimps.
And they clean the bottom of the seabed, don't they?
Who?
Shrimps.
Yes, they do. Which explains why you always feel a little bit sick after you've eaten prawns. You do, don't you?
Yeah.
Sickened at what you've had to do, because you sit there, don't you, watching the rugby, you've got a bowl of prawns, and you're pulling off these things' legs, and you're pulling off its head and its tail, and then you're sucking its eggs, and then you eat it, membrane and all, and you wonder why you feel sick.
That little black sack at the bottom of them.
We're a funny outfit, aren't we, human beings? Let's have a word with Jim, who calls from Surbiton. I'll catch you later.
Okay.
Jim in Surbiton, you're on LBC.
Yes, Tommy, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Thank you for your call.
Your arithmetic is faulty.
Oh, dear. Go on, then.
You've left an important factor out of your equation.
Which bit's this, Jim? Remind us which bit you're talking about here.
The gain in weight of the Earth.
Yes?
Millions of tons of petrol or various other things go into the air in aeroplanes every day.
Yes.
And it's not there when they come down.
It is. Doesn't vanish, Jim.
They come down with empty tanks.
Yes, they do. But so does the soot come down from their engines, from their afterburner.
It's not only soot.
What? The fuel is merely converted. It doesn't vanish, Jim. Nothing vanishes. The aircraft fuel that goes up in the planes comes back down to Earth as something else, but it weighs the same, I think.
Well, if you're right, I could get you to help me on another ecological matter.
But, Jim, that's why I'm here.
And that is why motorists are always to blame for pollution.
Yes.
And not aeroplanes.
Well, you live in Surbiton, Jim.
Yes.
So you're on the edge of the flight path, aren't you?
I have a bird bath in my garden.
Good for you.
Which is regularly cleaned out because it's got a red deposit on it.
Airlines. Aeroplanes, mate. I used to live, when I lived on the...
But the ecologists never say that the aeroplanes are to blame.
Well, sometimes you see...
There's some big money here.
Where's that?
In the industry.
Which industry is this? What? The ecology industry?
Eh?
The ecology industry?
No.
No.
No, the people who fly the aeroplanes.
Yes, they ought to clean up their act. But I don't know what you could do about it, Jim. All I do know about it is that if you park your car underneath... Clean your car. Have you got a car? No. If you've got a car, polish it one afternoon and come back and look at it the following 24 hours later, and you will find grime on it, and that is, I promise you, that is aircraft pollution just falling to earth. Now, do the same thing somewhere not on the flight path, and it won't happen. You know, if you're lucky enough to live in Camden, where you're not on the flight path, it won't happen. If you live in Hounslow, God, it's, it's sediment, real sediment.
So how do you calculate your 50,000 tonnes?
Well, the calculation was done for me. I didn't do it myself. It was done by scientists.
And you never bothered to check them?
Well, I ran my finger over it, like Carol Vorderman in that margarine advert. But
she could have helped you a lot.
You're so right, Jim. Jim, I'm grateful for your crack at that one. Thank you very much indeed for your observations and your wisdom. 01714121152. Let's get the news. It's 9:30.
Call Tommy Boyds now. 0171 412 1152.
That's the number. We're talking about... we've been talking on the breakfast show this morning primarily about gravity and also about nosebleeds and staunching the flow. Extraordinary stuff, blood, isn't it? So sticky. And we have a call in to the Royal College of Surgeons, who are in a meeting at the moment, and they are referring us on to the Royal College of GPs, and we're hoping to get an expert, one of those guys, on to tell us about what causes nosebleeds and whether there's any truth in the old wives' tale that it has to do with children picking their nose, which I think that has to be ridiculous. Quick flash from the world of sport. Vodafone Derby favourite Beatle is missing the Grosvenor Casino's Dante Stakes at York, and it means that Ian Abraham has switched his tip from Beatle to Porcini. Gary's called from Edgware. Gary, you're on LBC. Morning.
Good morning, Tommy.
Gary.
Two things, the nosebleeds and Jim's comment about the airline fuels.
Yeah.
If you can imagine it this way, if you took two spheres and filled, say, one with airline fuel to a ton and one with wood to a ton, and there was no escape for any of the gases or anything that was contained within those spheres, but they could expand.
Yeah.
You then combusted the material, or did whatever you liked to it, changed it in whatever form, they would still weigh the same at the end of it. They might be different in size, but they'll still have the same mass.
Yes.
You will never alter it and you'll never change it.
No, it is mass we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes, the material, it's a little bit like matter. Matter can only change its form. It can't be destroyed, and it supposedly cannot be created. Right. As far as we're aware at the moment.
So it goes up as airline fuel. This is what Jim's point was. Jim's point was that an awful lot of weight of the Earth is lost during the... Is there any circumstance, apart from spacecraft going up from Cape Canaveral, whereby the Earth could lose weight?
No. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but not...
Well, they don't know.
No, yeah, exactly. They don't know. But I would imagine, as you said, it is an infinitesimal amount that is gained.
Supposing it turned out that life, right, had some kind of a mass. I'm not talking about your body weight.
Life itself.
But the business of life.
Yeah.
You see, you lose life, don't you? You can lose your life. Now, when that life is lost, is any form of energy...
But is it
dissipated lost?
Is it lost?
Yeah.
Or is it just changed into a different form of energy?
If Christians are right and all our souls go to heaven, then that would give us some... No, wouldn't give us any weight loss,
I don't believe that.
No.
And onto the nosebleeds. Nosebleeds. I used to have them as a child, and they came more in the summer months, and they would just start with no reason or rhyme at all.
Now, you've made a good point here. I think you're right. I think most nosebleeds do happen to children in the summer.
And I actually teach children.
You do?
And you'll sometimes, they'll just be sitting there. I mean, you could be looking at them on occasions. I mean, there have been times when I've just seen a child's nose just spontaneously start to bleed. Yes. And, by looking at them, you could see they certainly weren't meddling with their nose or anything. They just simply bleed. And I don't know exactly what it is. But for me, it was when it actually got warmer and warmer. If I was doing sports, my nose would just simply start bleeding. And
you see, you're getting much more scientific. And it would be a cheap shot to say that men are more scientific than women, but it often gets said.
It could be to do with a build-up of pressure within the head when you're doing certain things.
Well, change in atmospheric pressure, change in temperature, but also during the summer, all right, a lot of people... for the first time discover that they are allergic to pollen. Don't they?
I'm still there.
You see? Yeah. And it could be, couldn't it, that these nosebleeds are in fact triggered by that allergy. So it could be
pressure valve.
It could be early doors for hay fever.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Could be something to just like relieve the pressure in the system, like a boiler.
It would be interesting to know, wouldn't it, if there are more nosebleeds amongst children and people in built-up areas where you get a little bit more pollution and the air quality's poorer. But you see, this is us being scientific, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah. Mind you, I can sense the difference in quality of air, and I know that because I wear contact lenses.
You do?
Yep, and I don't care what they say. In fact, I've got to go to Moorfields tomorrow. But when I come into London, I suffer a lot more with my eyes. And I notice, and I don't know if it's pollen, but when I go on holiday, especially if I go to, say, the West Indies or somewhere like that, I can go there for 6 weeks, and I seem never to suffer with the same problems with my contact lenses in having to change them and clean them as I do when I'm here.
Well, when I lived outside London, I had a doctor who advised a saline wash for your nose after you'd been to London for the day. And you get some warm water, and you put a teaspoon of salt into it, and then you would inhale it.
Right.
Like that. And then you blow your nose and clean your nose out that way. So maybe, what's called picking one's nose is possibly, just nature's way.
It could well be.
Gary, wonderful to share wisdom with you. Thank you so much for your call. 0171 412 1152 is the number, and with any luck, Anne will be on her exercise bike, but with any luck I'm going to be able to storm in at 10 o'clock and give her the verdict from the Royal College of GPs. I'm Tommy Boyd. You're listening to LBC.
0171 412 1152.
Let's just go through into the back room where people are beavering away. Eager beaver. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Marcus?
Uh-huh.
Do we still get, because I know we do, so I'm leading you here, but do we still get, why is it that people sometimes ring a phone-in programme to you, they talk to you, say something very, very, very virile and
excellent points,
and then they say, but I couldn't possibly say that on the radio.
No, it's twofold. It's either I couldn't possibly say it on the radio, or here's an excellent point, but I don't want to go to it.
But I don't want to make it. Why is that? I mean, I've only been presenting here this time round the last sort of 7 or 8 weeks. I mean, what is it? I mean, people got cowardly. LBC listeners used to be, not that long ago, the bravest creatures on earth. You could ask them to go and take St. Petersburg. And 3 of them, any 3 of them, would have had those Russians fleeing in fear back to the steppes of Asia. But nowadays, I don't know. When I say nowadays, I never say nowadays, but it's funny, isn't it?
It's frustrating more than funny.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. So thank you, Braveheart.
Thank you.
Can we call you Braveheart? Didn't he die horribly? Did you see that movie?
I bet you that nipped. There was chaffing going on there.
That's the most painful thing I've ever seen in the movies, apart from a Richard Harris film called A Man Called Horse, where they suspended him from the roof of the teepee by his...
Was it?
N-word.
With chicken claws or eagle claws.
Yes,
or something,
that's right. Yes. 01714121152 is the number. Let's talk to Ray, who's calling from Abbey Wood. Hello, Ray.
Good morning, Tommy.
Morning, Ray.
I'm one of the brave ones, by the way.
It's funny, though, isn't it? It's funny. It's a funny business.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll ring you for.
Yeah?
When I was on HMS Gambia, a ship out in the Gulf in 1958.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't have a lot to do up there, so we used to argue about all sorts of different things and theories.
As men do.
We saw one in the old Codgers, a Daily Mirror, and it was a report to say that the weight of all the insects that died in 1 year on the Earth outweighed the population of the Earth.
There.
So I don't know what you think about that.
Well, now, you're making a very important point here, because we've calculated that gravity is increasing, and that is why people are getting heavier, people are more tired than they used to be, and you see a lot of dead birds, and airline tickets are going up. Don't you laugh.
Yeah, I know.
It all adds up. So gravity's increasing right now. Your point is that that's because the mass of Earth is being increased by the number of insects that die.
Right.
It's a very good point.
It is, isn't it?
Because they just lie there, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
And they might decompose.
Yeah, but they're still there, aren't they?
They're still there. They're still there. I worked with this bloke who tried to prove the same thing with waste products, but I'm not going into the argument because it's a different business and we don't want that, do we?
All right, well, Tommy, I thought I'd give you that thought and leave you with it.
You're a very kind man.
You're all right.
And I'm grateful for that.
OK, sir.
Good to talk to you.
Bye.
What a nice man. You see, what a nice man. You'd have a pint with Ray, wouldn't you? You'd pick him as a pint meister. So where are we? We're just about... I have bad news from the Royal College of GPs, if you're hanging on from going off shopping because you want to get the truth, that's what I was going to do. What I was going to do was I was going to get the Royal College of GPs on to settle the argument about what causes nosebleeds amongst children, because I'm quite convinced it's more scientific than what Anne and a couple of lady callers were saying, that it has to do with children, picking their nose. Then, having talked to them about that, I was going to talk to them about the business of the inside of our nose, because the insides of our nose is a much underexplored piece of territory. There's a business about why does hair start to grow in men's noses, but not women's noses, once they reach the age of about 27? And why is it that some people use noses for drug abuse? Which is bizarre. How was that discovered? By some Inca Indian up the Amazon one day. What, he decided to push a cocaine plant up his nose? Just how? Bizarre. And I was going to ask about that mucus that collects, and what good is it? What's it for? What is it for? Why do we have sinuses? Why do we have sinuses? You don't know. You got them. You don't know why you got them. These are the things. These are the things of which idle chit-chat is made aboard aircraft carriers. 0171 412 1152. This is LBC. My name is Tommy Boyd.
And they fly around and then they die, but there's no net increase in the mass of the Earth. The only thing that changes the mass of the Earth, as far as I understand it, is that some of the atmosphere escapes into space, very small amount of atmosphere escapes into space, and it is increased by meteorites. A few thousand tons a day, I believe, come in from space, and that increases the mass of the Earth. Well, and you were talking about pollution on cars, were you?
Yes.
Well, that is not caused, as far as I understand it, by aeroplanes. That is a powdery deposit which comes from the Sahara Desert.
No.
Yes, I tell you what, speak to your weatherman, right?
No.
He'll put you straight.
He will not put me straight. My weatherman's not going to put me straight on.
Well, he will, because what happens is you get a sandstorm in the Sahara Desert, very fine particles go up into the atmosphere,
and
it comes over to the southern part of England, gets washed out by the rain, and you get this powdery deposit.
You live in Harrow. You live under the flight path, don't you?
I live under, but it's not only when it's in the flight path, it's all over the place. I can park my car anywhere. In certain atmospheric conditions, you get this powdery, quite a thick powdery deposit coming down on your car because there's no ash comes out of airplane engines. There's no mess. I mean, there's no pollution.
Of course hardly any. There is.
It comes out as water vapor and carbon dioxide.
No, it comes out as ash because something is burned.
Hardly any ash. There's hardly any solids come out of aircraft engines.
Hardly any. You didn't do science, did you? Hardly any doesn't work. Yes, I did. Hardly any doesn't work.
Well, I'm sorry. Aeroplane fuel is like paraffin. It burns very cleanly. All it makes is water vapor. Well, not all, but most of it is water vapor and carbon dioxide.
When you burn... Look, let me explain something to you.
Yes.
Let me absolutely murder your argument for you. And when I have done, you do have to say, oh, I see. That's a very good point, Tommy, and thank you for that, and I will rejig my thinking, and you're kind to correct me. Right. When a rocket... takes off from Cape Canaveral.
Yes.
Okay. What is it that forces the rocket up into the air?
It's Newton's law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
And what is the action which produces the reaction of a rocket going upwards?
It's the burning of the rocket fuel.
Which does what?
It's like a sort of a graduated explosion.
Yes, which does what?
Well, it pushes the rocket up because every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
And what is the action what's travelling downwards of the same mass as the rocket is travelling up?
You see, you mean it's pushing against something, do you?
No, I do not. I mean, it is expelling a mass.
Yes.
A mass.
Well, it is. It makes a lot of sense. But you see, rocket engines are not the same as aircraft engines. Rocket engines are normally solid fuel. Well, they're not always solid fuel.
Well, look, whatever type of a rocket is, old mate, what happens is... For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yes.
Right. A plane goes forward.
Yes.
Right. Because what's being expelled out of the back of it at a high velocity is a mass.
Exactly.
Wait.
Yes.
Equal to the aircraft.
The mass that comes out are the heavy gases, which are carbon dioxide and water vapour, which are quite heavy gases. And they come out at an incredibly fast speed, propelling the aircraft forward. It's the gases, it's not a solid.
But it has weight, it has mass.
Of course it does. Well, carbon dioxide is very heavy, it's a heavy gas.
It has substance.
Well, of course it does.
Yes.
And but it's a gas, it is a gas.
Yes.
I think you're fine. And as for the Sahara, as I said, you asked your weatherman.
You shouldn't have come up with that because you were doing quite well until you came up with that idea.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, you can still ask him. I mean, all it means is asking you a question.
No, look, listen, let me say something. I don't like experts.
No.
The minute you call somebody an expert, they start talking in a pompous way.
Right, because he disagrees with you.
No, I prefer pub talk.
Oh, I see, okay.
It's much healthier.
Right.
Isn't it?
Well, I think it is, yes,
Isn't
exactly.
ignorance bliss? I'm not suggesting you're ignorant.
No.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
I hope your birds get better. Darren's in Croydon. Quick word with Darren. Darren, you're on LBC. What can I do? What can you do us for?
I'd just like to make a point that is it not being reported that we have holes in our ozone layer, so therefore at some point there's going to be gas escaping, so as well as obviously gaining weight, we are effectively losing weight as well.
No, stuff doesn't escape out the ozone layer. What keeps the atmosphere down on Earth is gravity.
But there's gas leaking out of our system.
No, there's extra stuff getting in through the holes. The holes allow stuff to get in, that's the problem. It's like the sun's rays, you see, Darren. Have I put you right?
Right.
Yeah, okay, not at all. Hello, Therese.
Hello there.
You look sumptuous again.
Thank you very much. I'm standing in for Steve Allen again.
Yes.
And just after the news, we'll be talking about things like kissing on both cheeks, or do you prefer shaking hands? And some builders' horror stories I'm looking for. And stories about age differences in relationships. Does it really matter if your other half is 20 years older or younger?
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.